Welcome back, everyone, on yet another episode of House of Knowledge. Today's episode 4. We got another guest on. He already was on the Fat Loss with Max episode last time around. It's Margin. Maybe some of you already know him from the last episode. But for the people that don't know you, who are you? What do you do? What are you known for? Can you give us some information there?
I mean, my whole thing, I would probably fit into the same category as Max, like former fat kid, and that's like the over-encompassing identity for me. But I don't know, I started out on social media making like old school video edits, and I created this sort of branding for it. But over time, I wanted to push more into educational content to support my coaching. I've always had a very deep interest in pharmacology and PEDs for bodybuilding and powerlifting purposes. And I'm kind of just at this point experimenting and documenting my progress.
Okay, sounds good. So it's maybe like more in between what Max does and what the rest of us does, because Max,
Yeah,
of course, is primarily focused on the fat loss. But you, I mean, if we see your transformation, you have already done most of the fat loss, I can imagine, and now you're more at the bodybuilding level and trying to push that probably.
I'm getting there slowly.
Yeah, and props for the change. It's I've never seen a transformation like that. I mean, I've seen Max's transformation that already blew me away with the amount, but yeah, losing that much weight and then basically becoming getting a bodybuilding physique, that's wild. I've never really seen it before. Did you have any like loose skin left when you were done, or was it not that much that you had to lose?
I had an excessive amount of loose skin. I'm not sure if you saw on my Instagram, but from dropping nearly 160 pounds and, growing up obese, it's just the skin was going to be stretched just by being that big for so long. The majority of it was on my chest. And for that, I did get surgery in 2021. My insurance helped cover it because I found a good doctor who basically ruled it out and worded it in a way where it's like it was gyno that was causing me pain. And that was honestly life-changing. I'm very, very grateful to have been able to get that surgery. But, I still have loose skin remaining on my lower stomach, my arms, just kind of generally around my body. But like a big focus in my content recently is basically how I've been able to almost reverse it. I feel like I'm about 90% of the way there, just through a combination of things like staying lean for a longer time, not trying to get overly fat and then shrink back down again. So, there's more space for the skin to really regain elasticity. Big changes in diet, just reducing inflammation and water weight, things like that. And then, certain peptides like growth hormone, GHK copper.
Interesting. So basically reversing the loose skin without getting surgery. But fine, I think. I mean, it looks good. I didn't even see that you had any loose skin left. I heard you mentioning some compounds there. You said you use GH and I believe GHKCU as well, right? To reverse that. I know that Blast is really keen of that compound. Would it help with loose skin in any regard, Blast?
It's going to make the skin a lot higher quality. It's going to it depends on how loose the skin is, I guess, because there's some things that are not reversible. And then there are some things, minor things, which can be reversed. So in some parts of the body, I suppose it would be helpful. But anywhere where there was like a drastic amount of loose skin, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
Blast was just talking about using GHKCU, and I believe it does have some benefits or can help with elasticity of the skin. But of course, you're limited. I believe you can completely reverse it with it.
I feel like if anything, it could provide a slight help. I don't think I have really run it for long enough to really determine whether or not that's made a noticeable difference. But I mean, just knowing that it does promote collagen synthesis and just general skin quality and texture, I feel like that in combination with the growth hormone and then obviously staying lean, minimizing water retention and inflammation.
Yeah. Would it be something that we can use for like scar tissue on the skin as well? Acne or anything in that regard?
It does have some use there, but either way, I mean, depending on what the scar tissue is from, you still have to like have a manual way of breaking up the scar tissue, like some deep tissue therapy.
It's better preventatively. If you're going to get surgery, PPC 157 and GHKCU would be like good.
More to then help fix up the recovery process of getting the skin removed, right?
I use PPC recovering from the surgery.
Do you think it sped up a little bit, the surgery recovery?
I think so, because I actually had to go in for a second emergency operation. I had a hematoma just about 10 minutes after I got home. And basically, the right side, the right chest, swelled up to about the size of a football. So he rushed back in, and then I was in the hospital for about a week. I kept bleeding out, and it sucked. But considering that it healed so nicely, and like the actual scar lines didn't really change. Obviously, like one side was more swollen for a while, but considering that it healed great. And
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It's like the scars are hardly noticeable
It's
at
like
all.
directly under my pec, so it's in a really good spot.
I saw that Brian Johnson broke his foot, and he's now doing some stuff to fix that. But I didn't see him using BPC 157.
Ooh.
Yeah, right.
He's fucking up.
Yeah, man. I always think that he would use then something like this, but he went like a weird route of injecting plasma right into the ankle where it was broken and doing some laser therapy and stuff like that. But I think that BPC 157 would be way, way more useful.
It's
that regard.
orders of magnitude more effective.
Yeah.
It's not even comparable.
Yeah, such a shame that he didn't use it. We should get him on the podcast soon. No, but I was really, I saw the video and I clicked on it and I thought it would definitely talk about BPC 157, but no mention, nothing at all.
Him out of all people, you would think would use it.
Yeah,
Right?
but I don't know why. Maybe because it's not studied enough or something that the doctors then don't give it to him.
Yeah,
but
maybe he's being extra cautious because maybe it could have bad effects because the lack of human data. But
yeah,
yeah.
I was
the benefits
curious if you guys
outweigh everything, I think.
would know anything about I was looking into it a little bit. I heard that possible like long-term use of BBC, the angiogenesis could actually be something harmful in the long run when it comes to cardiovascular health. Have you guys heard of that at all?
I have not heard of that. I only have heard about the cancer that could happen because of angiogenesis, but if you look into it, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah,
But,
it seems unlikely.
Because they even used, I think, BBC 157 to help people who have cancer have less wasting. So, I mean, it couldn't be that bad. But I've never heard about the cardiovascular side of it.
That's something I have to look more into because it's something I heard about and I was like,
Yeah, no clue why I didn't use it, but it shocked me that you didn't use it. Let's see, Margin, you said you are trying to do less of an inflammatory diet, of course, to also reduce the excess skin that's hanging around. And Blast just mentioned olive oil right before this. We had a very, very short discussion. Let's go into some fat sources because I primarily get most of my fat from olive oil. What's your guys' take on it? I think it's like basically a wonder drug. If we go food-wise, it's probably the best thing one could eat. Blast, maybe you can give your input first on it since you mentioned it before the podcast.
There's a lot of different studies that show that olive oil has like nutraceutical effects. So like diets where olive oil is added seems to have pro-cardiovascular outcomes, anti-cancer properties. People that live in areas where they already have healthy diets and then you're adding olive oil to it. There's plenty of studies showing really, really beneficial effects from consuming olive oil. It's good stuff.
Yeah, longevity-wise, it seems amazing, at least on paper in the studies. That's why I picked it as well. I get maybe 50% of my oil from it. During the cut, I didn't really have any oil left. I didn't really eat it. But yeah, it's my primary choice oil-wise. Then maybe I have some nuts as well. And that's basically it for my oil choices. Does anyone else consume olive oil in those amounts, like as a standalone thing?
I mean, I do my added fats either from, I switch it up. I do olive oil or I'll do Kerrygold. What do you guys think about butter though? Yeah, no, like organic.
I don't know.
Production's good.
Yeah, it's a hype lately as well. You see people chugging in huge amounts of butter.
Oh my god.
Literally recently, one person that I had to make a plan for, a diet plan, he sent me his current plan over and he was just adding butter to like 3 or 4 meals. I think that goes a bit too far. It's not as unhealthy, I think, as most people think it is, but consuming it in those huge amounts, I don't really see much benefit compared to something like olive oil in that regard.
Yeah.
But with the butter, you have like the butyric acid, as Blessed said, which has many benefits. But on the other hand, you have the palmitic acid, which is probably the worst kind of fat that you can have. If people say saturated fats are bad, they're mostly talking about palmitic acid because butyric acid is also saturated, and that's a really good one. So
Yeah, but that's why I think it's so weird
it
that
has
people
both
push
of
so hard
these.
on the butter. I mean,
Yeah,
you literally
it's
have these people saying, "Yeah, this grass-fed butter, it's super healthy," and then they eat like chunks of it. I even saw a girl eating an entire stick of butter a day.
yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen I've seen this as well. I think it's I don't know. This is just based on my gut feeling, but I'd say it's like maybe a net neutral, apart from the calories, of course, because of the positive but also the negative effects that you have. But I had a question about the olive oil. Would you guys say that the effects are gonna be better if you get like the extra virgin olive oil, or
Yes,
doesn't that
I've
matter?
I've looked into this. I personally get a very specific olive oil. It's from Greece, I think, and it's tested also on polyphenols and stuff like that, heavy metals. You need an extra virgin olive oil since all the other olive oils aren't even olive oil. What they do in the Netherlands, they now that there really aren't olive oil. In the Netherlands, you have Keuringsdienst van Waarde, and they went into it. Regular olive oil in the supermarket, what they do, they take all the olives that fell on the ground and they are rotten and they have worms in it, and then they make that, and then they put it into like a machine to then somehow get the oil out of there. Then they add bleach to it and heat it up a lot, so it basically kills everything what's beneficial in the olive oil, and it filters everything out that's beneficial. You're just left with something that in Spain, for example, they would use to light their lamps with, and it isn't even for human consumption. And all the farmers there, they were laughing a lot because the Dutch person from the television show said, "Yeah, we pay more for this in the Netherlands than the extra virgin olive oil, because I don't know if you have this in Belgium as well, but they slap on it that you can cook with it warm, and then they charge more for it." Yeah, that's that dirty olive oil that they would use for lamp oil, and it's just trash.
Yeah, but that's because if you take regular extra virgin olive oil, if you cook with it, then you're gonna destroy some of the fats with a high heat. So that's why
Yeah,
they
that's
made
not really true.
the other version.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
not really true
I don't
because
know.
you need to. Yeah, that's what they say, so they can charge you more, but you need to heat it to like 180 Celsius before you get this breakdown. During a cooking process, you're not going to reach the temperature unless you're putting it in the oven. And even that, it's not the level where it then gets unhealthy, because there are also some protective features inside of the olive oil that then, even though these harmful chemicals get released at that point, at the smoking point, it's still protective against it. But it's like 180 degrees Celsius where that happens. You're not going to reach it when you're just cooking in a pan. Yeah, you don't need to buy that. And the other olive oil, it's just trash. It's better at that point something else, like an avocado oil or coconut oil.
Coconut oil has an even lower smoke
That's my
point. It's
take on it.
160, right?
Sorry?
Coconut oil has an even lower smoke point. It's 160.
Is it?
I thought it was higher.
I believe you can heat it up higher.
Yeah, I thought avocado oil was like the highest you could heat up. Like avocado has the highest.
I think avocado is one of the highest. Yeah,
because
but
that's
I
what I
don't
use
know.
for spray. I have an avocado oil like spray that I'll use, and I specifically use it because it's the highest smoke.
Yeah, well,
Get it really
the only
hot.
reason that I don't cook with olive oil is that the olive oil that I get is extremely expensive, so it would just be a waste because it
Yeah.
breaks down all the good stuff in it. So I'd rather than add the olive oil as a fat source on top. It has like milligrams of polyphenols or something. I don't even know the measurement of it. But yeah, if you get olive oil, then get something that is tested for polyphenol content, so you actually know that what you're taking has some benefit and is not just a weird concoction that they make to sell in the supermarket for a high price.
Now you're talking about olive oil, but what like protein sources are you adding like olive oil to? Specifically, like, what do you prefer?
Yeah, I know Marjan at the beginning, before we started recording, asked about beef, my view on beef. I think that beef is a really good choice. Also, I think it's good to have some beef fat in small amounts, so we just get a full palette of fat sources. But for me, it's just the price where then beef loses since it's more expensive. But I don't know what your guys' view on it is. Best protein source, meat-wise, or even anything else that we should add in?
I definitely try to keep a variety, but just like it is a big price thing. If I could stick to mostly just very lean ground beef or just lean red meat, I would. But I mean, I'll switch it up. A lot of the time, it is just going to be chicken breast, chicken tenderloin. But I've also found a cheat code to where like the restaurant depot or like chef stores near me, where it's like if you have a business license, that's how you're able to shop there. Basically, you can get bulk amounts of meat for very cheap. So I'll get bulk amounts of tilapia, and I eat quite a lot of white fish because I do a lot of Vietnamese style cooking. That's always been a big favorite of mine. So as you pan-sear that with like cilantro, shallot, garlic, stuff like that, and that's a huge staple.
Yeah, for the European people watching, we can have the same hack here. If you get a business license and then go to Metro in Germany or to Macro in the Netherlands, basically get the same thing. Beef prices are between 11 and 14 euros for some decent cuts, also low fat cuts. So that's a good hack that I also utilize a little bit. And yeah, also the reason why I don't really buy beef is in the supermarket. I saw this in Germany, then they add on the back, no more than 15% collagen of the protein. So that basically means that they probably add in 0.8% collagen and then write it up on the label as more protein so they can just cut up the meat. And then in the Netherlands, if you look on the back of the ground beef, there just has sugar and whatever inside of it. And it's not the best stuff you can buy, I think. I doubt it's the best quality of meat that they put in there. That's why I personally get just whole cuts and try to avoid ground beef as much as possible. Let's see, Bless, do you, or Zeno, do you want to maybe say something about red meat?
Yeah, I think it's a valid option. You talked about the fats in red meat. Again, the fats in meat are also quite high in palmitic acid, so again, not the best fats to get.
Yeah, that's why I said a very small amount.
Yeah, and then also there is a lot of iron in it, which is probably also not good to get in large amounts, especially not if your hepcidin is crushed because of taking exogenous hormones.
Yeah, so especially for the people that are on cycle, better probably to avoid the red meat options.
Yeah, but it tastes good, and the macros are good. So I switch it up between mainly chicken breast and lean ground beef.
And Blessed, I can imagine you might have some opinions about this. Do you
Yeah,
think
I
it's
wonder
okay
what
to
whey
eat
protein powder tastes like if that.
with only olive oil? You mean like?
Just olive oil. Olive oil protein powder shake. Oh yeah. No, it's joking.
Should be
That's
decent,
my
man.
primary protein source.
Give it a try. Your main protein source is whey?
My main protein source is whey, also chicken breast and lentils.
Okay, yeah.
Lentils.
Interesting. The lentils
Really?
part, I was wondering recently because I also sometimes have like some not complete proteins, just in spare amounts. Same goes for lentils. I think they're not complete. Would we be able to then utilize combinations and just get more protein out of the food that we're consuming? Same goes for rice with beans together. I mean, I could imagine that just for money-wise, if you already have your meat, then you have some rice. Why not just add in a little bit of like kidney beans to then boost the amino acids profile from the rice combined with the beans, and then you get even more protein from your food for lower cost. Would that work? Does that actually give the exact same effect as eating a complete protein source? Because I wasn't really getting the
All
conclusion there.
foods have complete protein sources. It's just that their amino acid profiles are different. So,
Yeah, that's
like
what
a
I
lot
mean.
of plant-based proteins have lower leucine content, for example. And so, if you're eating a plant-based diet and you want to ensure that you're getting all of the quantities of essential amino acids that you want, especially leucine, then you have to take that into consideration. You might need to consume more protein than somebody else because you have a plant-based diet in order to ensure that you're getting the same action as you would if you were eating non-plant-based protein.
Yeah, with complete protein, they mean in general that you have the full essential amino acid profile. That's what generally, I mean, each and every source, whatever you eat, does have all the amino acids in it. But when people say complete protein, they mean that it has all 9 essential amino acids in enough amounts. So that's why I mean, like combining, for example, the beans, where maybe, for example, leucine is missing, and then you add something else on top that is more rich in leucine, and then combined, you get enough of the essential amino acids. Would that give the same effect as eating, for example, a complete protein chicken?
Yeah, that's what vegan people have to do. But yeah, that's gonna give about the same result.
Yeah, so just from a money aspect, because I know that many people watching are on the younger side. Imagine if you have chicken and rice, you could also eat a little bit less chicken, maybe add in some kidney beans, and then you have the same amount of protein for less money, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and also I want to talk about whey because Blast also said it was his main source. There's a lot of people hating on it or saying like, oh, it's not real food and real food is better. But if you look at the micronutrient content of whey, it's one of the best forms of protein. So I think this hate on whey is just not warranted.
With micronutrients, I figured it out really early because I was adding it into Chronometer a very long time ago, and I was just shocked. I was like, "Oh, where the fuck do all my vitamins come from? Since I'm not eating any vegetables." But it was just from the protein. I basically got everything just from whey. But I did read a post from the owner of True Nutrition. I don't know if you guys know True Nutrition, the supplement company. It's a US company. You know it, Max?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was saying that because of the process of processing the way, okay, this is a shitty sentence, the way whey is processed, he said, the owner of that company, that the high level of processing does degrade the protein quality, especially if companies don't put a lot of effort into the right production of whey. At least that's what he said. It was an old forum post from like 2005 or something like that. But it was the owner, and they put a lot of effort into quality control and actually getting the right supplements out there. And he said he's kind of shooting himself in the foot with this message, but it was a really long post about the quality of protein powders and how most companies don't actually then have good protein because of the harsh manufacturing process.
Mhm.
So I don't know, that kind of shifted my view on protein, and I only try to utilize it around the training window now and don't really try to eat it throughout the day, personally.
Yeah, no, it's super company dependent on like how good the micronutrient profile is going to be. Obviously, I recommend personally to always go with a high quality isolate if you can. I know it's expensive, but you know, if you are going to go with a whey, do that. Not concentrate, not or like a high quality casein. You can mix them together. That's what I do.
Yeah, and Max, you're
But-
coached by Troponin, right?
Yeah. And there's so talking about that, they're very, very anti-protein powder. My coach is very anti-protein powder.
Yeah.
I recently
what is
maybe
he saying? It's like
Pick it, kill it, grow it.
kill it, grow it. Yeah.
yeah, and Zeno, maybe you can give your opinion on this, but I saw him saying recently that protein, especially like a concentrate, for example, the absorption of it is so quick that if you eat then, let's say you eat every 3 hours, the absorption of that is like 1.5 hours, I believe, that you're missing out on your maximum amounts of muscle protein synthesis windows, since you might miss one of the peaks. That's what he said in a video.
Wait, I think I misunderstood. What did you exactly mean with miss one of the peaks?
Okay, so imagine you have the protein, it digests really quick, he said, like within 1.5 hours, something like that. And because it digests so quickly and the amount of frequency you're eating in, you might then miss some of the muscle protein synthesis windows, since it has already digested so quickly, and then you would miss out on some gains.
So the muscle protein synthesis window is going to be roughly the same size, because once it's activated, but amino acid availability, that could be an issue. If you have a slow digesting protein, like casein, for example, that's like a great. Like, why do people take casein before they go to sleep as opposed to whey?
Mhm.
Because whey digests in an hour and casein digests in 8.
Are you guys a fan overall of like, I guess, just dairy proteins in general? Like I'm a big cottage cheese guy. I used to hate cottage cheese until I found out how to make it taste good, and I would say that's another staple of mine.
Yeah, for me as well.
non-fat
I
Greek
love
yogurt for
cheese.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah, I don't know if they have it in the US, but we have quark here.
Yeah.
It's
Greek yogurt, but that's pretty much Greek yogurt.
no,
right?
it's not.
Basically Greek yogurt.
Yeah, with like
come on.
with
Isn't it
way
closer
more
to
protein.
cheese? It's closer
It
to
has
cheese
12
than
grams.
yogurt.
Sorry,
The Greek yogurt has 18
Greek-
per cup,
18.
non-fat at least.
Yeah, okay,
18
but
grams
here-
of protein.
We don't work with cups. I don't know what that is.
My God.
Yeah, we just talk grams.
Okay, I don't know.
What's
Okay,
what's
grams.
Like-
170 grams. 170 grams. 18 grams of protein for 170 grams.
Yeah, it's basically
Okay,
the same.
No, it's way more because here that would be like 25.
Didn't you just say 12?
12 gram per
You just said-
100 grams.
Yeah,
I've,
and his
okay,
is
my
like
calculation is really bad. So,
11-ish.
yeah. Okay. I didn't know Greek yogurt had that much.
Yeah, it is.
You also have Skiers. I don't know how to
Skiers
pronounce it.
the
in
good
But that's just a
Skiers, yeah.
scam. That's just a scam. It's way
Why
too
is that?
Why?
expensive. Because it's fucking expensive
you
and
have
it's the same as quark.
cheap.
Yeah,
You have
you
cheap
can get
ones, but it's all
yeah.
about the same.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing. Isn't it all just the same thing?
The skier,
I mean, Greek.
Yeah, probably.
just Greek yogurt but thicker, and that's
Yeah,
what I
but
like.
quark is a cheese. It's per
Okay.
definition not the same.
No, wait. I don't think I've had quark. I've never had it. I've only had Greek yogurt. It's like the closest thing I've had. Or cottage cheese, I guess.
Is it Dannon? I think it's Dannon, but I was in France this past year, and the amount of like protein mousses or like just pre-made protein, like whipped desserts, things like that. Those are amazing, but we don't really have that here.
But we have that a lot here in Europe. Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of options, especially in Germany. It's everything is protein. They even have this thing now, it's called Käse, and it's like this 20 grams protein cheese without any fat. I have no clue how it's made, but they somehow figured
I gotta
out how they
come to
could make
Germany.
cheese without
Oh my
fat.
gosh.
They have a 0% fat, like buffalo cheese, like the wet mozzarella. It's so good. It's
Yeah,
cheap.
at Lidl they recently had
Yeah.
this 0% fat mozzarella, but
Yeah.
one has to say it's basically a skippy ball. You can throw it against the wall and it bounces back. There's no water in it. It's just pure protein, so it doesn't taste that good. But what's your guys' take on all these protein options? I know in the Netherlands we have a lot of these protein desserts. Then at Lidl you have protein, whatever, grießmehl and all these weird things where they just add protein for the sake of protein. In Germany, I recently saw that they had, the chocolate classes that you can buy in the supermarket. They even had a high protein chocolate Santa Claus. What's your guys' take on stuff like that? Because I think it's quite stupid.
Protein ice cream from Reva is cheat codes. If you're going to eat, like if you have a sweet tooth and you want junk food, it's like actually good. I mean, obviously it has no micronutrients in it, but
Yeah, but
it's-
with all these things, I'm always thinking from the bodybuilding aspect, is anyone actually going to get big off of all that stuff?
it's about reducing
Right.
the impact of your cheat meal.
Sure, from that regard, it would make sense to have a better cheat meal option, but people are eating this daily. You have people eating daily these protein mousses to get in 25 grams, and it's probably just spiked. I don't even think there's that amount of protein in there. I don't
I used
think
to be
anyone
able-
is actually going to build muscle off that.
I used to be a big
Imagine.
Halo Top guy. If you know what that is,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even really for the protein. It's mostly just for the sake of having a lower calorie ice cream. But like me and Max were talking about last time, the Ninja Creamy, that's a big game changer. And you can use any protein powder you'd like.
Yeah, you can even make chicken ice cream.
Yeah, you can get very creative with it. I'm gonna have to try that out.
Oh my god, you can make your chicken
Do,
shakes.
do you
in
have
the
a
creamy.
recipe?
Yeah, I do actually. I've already thought about it. I just didn't have the chance since it's here in the Netherlands, my Ninja Creamy, and now I live in Germany. But I actually was thinking about making this ice cream chicken, and it's really easy. What you do is you take a blender, then you boil the chicken breasts, then add it in there, then you just take some fruit and some water as well. And then don't forget the flavor drops. You need to add flavor drops in there. And then you just freeze it, and then you have ice cream. It's and you won't even taste the chicken. So I think that might be the best bang for your buck, calorie-wise and money-wise, for a good high protein ice cream.
I think I'll stick to the protein powder and the Fairlife. But thank
Understandable. Yeah, but people hate too much on my chicken shakes because they're actually really good and you don't even taste the chicken. And it's really convenient. I think it's better to throw in some chicken with some oatmeal into a blender compared to getting one of those weird protein shakes from the store if you're on the road. And throwing your chicken into the blender just takes 1 minute, so really don't have any excuses there. But yeah, people
Just on
hate
the
on it for
topic
no
of,
reason.
like,
They haven't even
protein-
tried it.
Just on the topic of protein options that aren't very popular, I feel like things like chicken heart or gizzards are really overlooked. Obviously, you have to consume them in moderation, just because, like with liver, you risk vitamin A toxicity. But what I do is I just marinate chicken hearts and I'll air fry them, and it's like these little chewy chicken bites, and they're amazing.
I mean,
you're making a face.
I just from the concept of it, I can't eat it.
Is it
That's
just the
why I
fatty
think they're
heart?
I'm
yeah.
stealing that idea.
That's why I think it's underrated, since it's really disgusting, I think, to eat.
You need
For
to cook
most
it right.
people,
You
at
make
least.
me want to try it.
Amazing.
Air frying chicken hearts. It sounds halfway decent.
Dude, your hate on the chicken ice cream, and then you think eating hearts is good.
No,
But it's in the air fryer.
I am down with the chicken ice cream. I can get on board with that.
Good. Okay, I will
I'm
try the
not.
chicken hearts, and then you can try the chicken ice cream. Yeah, eating some organ meats, I think, is beneficial, at least to get in some vitamins. But you really need to take care to not overdo it. But I think if you're making ground beef, for example, you could chop in some liver, maybe some heart, and then you don't even taste it. So that would be decent. It's just that I always think then, if I want to get those, I want it to be like from really high quality cows, because I don't want to get the anabolic injected, I don't know, cow. I think their organs might not be that healthy. I mean, if we compare a healthy person to a bodybuilder and take their liver, I also would rather eat the liver of the healthy person.
Yeah.
I think you're very unlikely to experience something like that if you're not eating meat that's coming from South America. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think in Europe.
I don't know. I think if I would eat it, I would want a proper source. Does
How
anyone
much
else?
can you consume from liver from Finiplex cows? How much would you have to eat to actually get a dose of it?
I mean, they give them a 200 milligram pellet, and that lasts the cows for like 12 weeks or something, if I remember correctly. You know, I pin more than that per week, so that would eat a lot of cow.
Does anyone else consume organ meats, or is it just Margin?
Really? Is
I
it
really
just
like the
No?
taste of liver.
I find the
Okay,
biggest
so-
thing is you have to find a way to neutralize the gamey or bloody taste, and the biggest way to do that is just the right balance of saltiness but sweetness. Sweetness is what really cancels it out.
Cool. Thanks for the tip.
I
promise
think
you
I will
what
give it a
Used
go.
to sweeten it.
I'll send you guys over some recipes.
But if I can
I'll try
find
it.
out a way to eat less vegetables, I'm all for it.
When it comes to vegetables, where are you guys gonna fall with that?
I personally think that fruits are a better choice, I think. Since most vegetables, I think, are not really meant to be eaten, except fruits. So like tomatoes, peppers, stuff like that one can eat. But if you go more into the vegetable realm of like leafy stuff, I think there are too much things in it that protect the plant, and it won't really aid your digestion, I think.
Or medics, they're good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think we've been eating vegetables for thousands, maybe millions of years. I don't know how long humans have lived, so this might have been a stupid thing to say. But I think we've adapted by now, and all the studies looking at the health outcomes of eating more vegetables and also more fruits show that it's good for you. Fiber is also good for you, preventing cancer in the gut, in the
colon.
intestines. Yeah, in the colon. That was the one I was looking for, preventing colon cancer. So I think, it's just good. And I think carnivore is retarded.
Yeah, just any way I can find to cope that I don't have to eat vegetables is a good way. We'll happily join the carnivores on that one, but I know it might be better to eat vegetables. Then in general, if we're already on the topic of carnivore, I know we talked about eating breadsticks for breakfast already. What's your guys' take on the whole carnivore thing? Because I think it's just a fat diet. It's just stupid. I think eating processed and animal-based, that's good. But I think going full on carnivore is just a weird religion.
The only time I would find it useful is if it is for like an autoimmune sort of thing, or if it's just for a short stint of time to resolve some sort of gut issue or inflammation.
Yeah, or elimination, for example.
Yeah, elimination.
That you eliminate and then build up.
Yeah.
But people who do carnivore, it seems like they either go to like it's always going to be an extreme. They go to the extremes of it, and like going back on the organ meats, like a lot of people who will get into organ meats and like that's their whole thing, they tend to overdo it, and then that leads to a lot of issues because of that overconsumption of like things like vitamin A, and then arachidonic acid.
Yeah, you even had their cult leader. I don't know this guy's name, but he was a really big influencer. Before he was all on carnivore, and then now he's just doing it's animal based. So before he was
Paul
just
I think
pushing.
you mean Paul Saladino.
Yeah,
Carnivore
exactly.
Paul
He was
Saladino.
pushing like books and whatever, saying it's the
Yeah,
best
he's
diet
made
in the
a
world.
lot of money from selling books that he now says, "Oh no, I don't agree
was wrong.
anymore."
I feel like almost every big carnivore guru eventually kind of switches over. It starts with the fruits. They start incorporating fruits or like just rice.
And for their vitamin C, they start with some
And then
oranges.
they just slowly transition to a normal omnivorous.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it goes, man. They cut everything out, just eat red meat and organs, and then they notice that shit just starts going downhill, and then they start indeed adding in some fruits, and then you can eat some vegetables, but not all of them, and then after a while they're also eating grains and pasta again, and then they're just at the regular unprocessed diet.
This is kind of on.
It always goes full circle.
This is kind of on topic, but I just got my bloods done yesterday, and I'm waiting on the results. I am interested to see what my iron levels will be because I started with this new carb cycling diet. I've been eating a lot more grains, a lot of English muffins, a lot more bread. I try to keep the bread to just sprouted because I find that digests the best for me and doesn't really cause any issues. But still, the amount I'm usually going way over the recommended daily intake.
Of iron, you mean? Yeah, I was saying if it's not from meat, then it's not the most bioavailable form of iron, so it might not be as bad as you think.
I love my English muffins. I love my bagels.
English muffins are delicious.
They are.
They digest so well, though.
They're so long.
I don't even know what an English muffin
Yeah,
is.
exactly. I also don't know.
We have them here. We have them here, but they have a different name. So definitely he's had them before, 100%, because they're really common. They're just not called English muffins here.
What is it called here?
I can't remember. I just know what they look like. Like I remember the first time somebody asked me if I wanted to try one, and I was like, "What's that?"
I know what it is. I think. Wait.
It's like a biscuit and a crumpet.
I know what it is.
Yeah, it's like a biscuit and a crumpet mixed together, pretty much.
They don't have bagels here, though. They're super rare.
Seriously?
It sucks.
Wow.
Bless you.
Bagels are...
I'm currently in Germany. I'm from Canada.
Okay. They don't have bagels? What?
Yeah, there's a bagel shop down the road. They make their own. So, you can't buy them to take home, but if you want to go for bagels for breakfast, they're pretty affordable, and it's nice because it's the only place you can get bagels in the whole city.
Are you guys fans of sourdough? I find sourdough to be a pretty good carb source, but the thing is it digests almost too easily, so I would not be consuming a lot of sourdough if I'm in a cut.
I'm German, so I'm a really huge sourdough fan. Most of our bread usually is sourdough. I know most Dutch people don't like the taste of it, but I love it. It tastes way too good. Bless, do you eat sourdough bread in Germany?
Not really. I mean, if it's on the table, I'm eating it, but I never buy it.
Okay. Yeah, I like bread as a carb source. It digests really well for me, especially if it's not the highest processed bread out there. But yeah, and I recently discovered this farmer shop that I wanted to show you, Blessed. There you can buy chicken breast cut up into very thin slices. It's basically, I think, baked in an oven. And then you just have like chicken fillet slices for on the bread, unprocessed. Their only ingredients is chicken and salt and some spices. I think that's one of my favorite meals. Just combining that with some bread and some mustard, and then you're good to go.
Sounds delicious. Mustard is such a happy condiment. 0 calories, perfect.
Yeah, I'm also planning on making some myself since I really like this Bayern, the mustard from Bayern with the sugar. I don't know if you've seen it in the stores in Germany.
No.
It's with this brown custard sugar, and then you have this mustard, but that's really high in calories. But if you take like brown stevia and then make your own mustard, grind it up, and then add it to it, I think you get the exact same thing, and then it would just be 0 calories of sweet sugar mustard. So I'm going to try that.
I was just about to ask Bless, how is mustard 0 calorie? I have some mustard in my fridge right now, and it's like 100 calories per 100 mLs.
No, it's 30.
There must
30
be something
calories.
added to it.
Yeah, that's probably...
The real mustard is 0.
Yellow.
Okay, I think here they add mayo to it. I'm not.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
No, Zeno, if you get normal mustard, then it has like 34 calories per 100 grams, I think, because there's nothing in it except mustard seeds, and they don't have much.
Yes,
Yeah.
here in America, they have these things. It's a brand. It's called Haus, and their sauces, like they have a wide range of sauces. And they're like it's 5 calories per 2 tablespoons, so 35 grams. They're all they're like sweet chili. There's chicken sauce. There's honey mustard, ketchup. Oh my gosh, so many, like barbecue sauce. Oh, Haus is the best.
Yeah, here we don't really have a lot of good sauce options for low calorie, 0 calorie sauces. Especially in Germany, it took me a really, really long time to find anything. I found a barbecue sauce and it was like €7 for this much. So that's, USA really has some good options in the low calorie, 0 calorie aspect. So Blast, I see you taking some puffs here and there from a vape. What's your guys' opinion on using nicotine? I know I like it a lot. I don't try to smoke since that then impacts my performance, of course, but I do like a cigarillo or cigar here and there, and I do take nicotine gum. But what's your guys' view on using nicotine?
It's a nootropic. It's great. Very effective. Take it for project work, take it for studying. I feel personally that the most people get addicted to the social habit of smoking, not nicotine itself. And so nicotine gum, like a 2 milligram nicotine gum used for snooze.
Zin,
Well,
right?
not actual snus, but it's Zone. It's Zone and Zin are 2 very popular nicotine pouch brands.
Yeah, but it's way too high dosed, right? What is the
these
dosage?
are 9 milligrams. It was a buy one get one free, so I was like, fuck it, might as well. But it seems to be like a slower release than Zin, which is what I usually use. So they haven't been too bad. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, I do get a huge nootropic benefit out of it. When I was a little shithead growing up, I did smoke a lot of cigarettes. I smoked spirits, American spirits, and then eventually switched to vaping. Vaping and the disposable vape market is very, very big here in America, and it's basically, at a certain point, it's basically just inhaling candy flavored nicotine and chemicals. Not the best, but since switching to the pouches, I would like to do a nicotine gum instead. But since switching to the pouches, I noticed a really big difference in, like, with vaping and smoking, I get a general, like, lethargy from it. But with the pouches, I just get the nootropic effect.
Yeah, I think that comes because of the oxygen reduction in your blood from the cigarettes. So that makes a lot of sense. But what's your guys' take then on just consuming purely nicotine from like a gum or from the Zyn pouches? Is that any harmful? I think it's not the best for like your heart. What's your guys' take
Depends
on
on the
that?
dosage, right?
Yeah, it really depends.
Lower dosages are actually like, I believe, it's been a really long time, so please someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually like angiogenic and it's like generally healthy for you.
Do you know
what's
what
then
The
a
lower
low
doses when it starts causing all of the negative effects, right? And like most of the negative effects aren't even from the, like obviously high dose nicotine is toxic. If you spill like nicotine on yourself, you have to go to an emergency room immediately because you can die if you're making your own vape juice or something like that. But it's also unhealthy in like non-poison dosages as well. But the main problem is the smoke inhalation. Like nicotine itself and low doses is healthy for you. That is correct, right? It's angiogenic. It's angioprotective. Am I wrong?
No, that's what I.
Do you know what dose specifically that is at, or dose range?
It's been a really long time, but like if you're just using like 2 milligram nicotine gum, for example, it's perfectly safe. It's perfectly fine. But you still get a big boost from it. So if you wanted to use this to go to the gym to like lock you in and give you focus while you're training, or if you wanted to use it for project work as a nootropic, then it's fantastic. But
Yeah, because I might consider doing that, because at least in the morning, like I have to get a lot of work done in a very short period of time, and but my ADHD medication does me fine, but I really need more, I think, and I just need to lock in. And I think that would be beneficial both for the gym as a kind of not a substitute to caffeine, but I would like to decrease my caffeine intake and have something else to supplement that with. And I think the nicotine.
I would say ephedrine, except it's being banned everywhere now.
One thing
that's
that's
the thing.
interesting about nicotine is nicotine ingestion shortens the half-life of caffeine. So it
Really?
helps in
What's the
someone
impact of
Gosh, I gotta try it now.
How big is the impact, Zeno?
I heard it somewhere and I thought, oh, that sounds weird. But yeah, I looked it up. It checks out.
Oh. I gotta try
Caffeine
that.
reduces the rate of anavar metabolism in the liver.
Oh, so sublingual anavar works a lot better with caffeine.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, what I was saying is that I personally don't like the nicotine pre-workout since I noticed just so much vasodilation from it. Constriction, I mean, vasoconstriction. I just look flat, get no pump, and my strength actually drops. But the focus on it is really good. So I do like it as a nootropic in there. Just personally, I just switch between Noopept, nicotine, and caffeine. But I think pre-workout for me, it's such a vasoconstrictor for me.
I might just be talking out of my ass here, but I'm pretty sure I've read that the vasoconstriction could actually be beneficial for force output. But obviously, if you're doing bodybuilding work, especially in higher rep ranges, that's where you wouldn't want the vasoconstriction.
Yeah, I think that's why I see a drop.
It would be more useful in like sprint work, like heavy strength work, stuff like that.
Yeah, because when your blood pressure is like up, doesn't that mean like you're going to be stronger? Like if you have like really high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Because I know for powerlifting, at least Zeno, maybe you could attest to this, but like you want to have high blood pressure. Basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you don't want it, but what I can say is that the moment you are most peaked, your blood pressure is probably also pretty high at that point. But that's also because I've never had to make weight, so my weight was always at like its highest then, and there's also a little bit of this stress for the competition or for the mixing out. So, but I don't know if a higher blood pressure would be beneficial for strength. It could be true, but I wouldn't want to find out because for all other living purposes, high blood pressure isn't ideal.
Yeah.
But I had a question about nicotine because my biggest problem with it is that it makes me nauseous. I'm a lightweight when it comes to nicotine. It's like even if I take a 2 milligram chewing gum, put it in half, so 1 milligram, I chew it very slowly, I get nauseous. But I notice a boost, and also from all the research I've done, it's like for memory, one of the most potent nootropics that's that easily available. So I would love to be able to take it more, but
how long does the nausea last for you personally?
It lasts for like half a day.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because what I experience is just like maybe half an hour or an hour of nausea. And then if I eat before that, it doesn't really matter because I'm just a little bit nauseous during my work. But it lasting half a day, that's quite insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't quite remember because it's been a long time since I've tried it. But yeah.
What's your guys' favorite nootropic stack then? Because I like Noopept a lot, but I know for sure like the perfect nootropic stack.
I'm a big fan of modafinil in lower dosages, but if I do use modafinil, I try and use it in a structured way where it's only going to be before some sort of deep work. Otherwise, I mean, with a lot of these nootropics, especially anything that promotes BDNF, if you were to do something like take Noopept and then just like scroll on your phone, you're basically going to be reinforcing that.
Yep, that's a big one that people forget.
Literally give yourself ADHD over time.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like people forget that, especially with stuff that then, I forgot the word, but basically stuff that rewires your brain in any way. If you then do the wrong behaviors, you're going to wire those in. So with nootropics, it's important to as well train your brain. Just like if you take steroids, you're not going to go to the gym and just. I think the same one has to do with nootropics. When I was really taking the Noopept, I was doing these brain exercises with an app just to boost my capability, and I really try to avoid doom scrolling. You literally give yourself ADHD if you take certain nootropics and do the wrong behaviors. Indeed.
I like Huperzine A lot. Like a lot.
One? Huperzine A. I also have that, but I don't really take it.
It's an acetylcholine transferase inhibitor. It does the same thing it does something similar to what Ritalin and SSRIs do, but it does it for acetylcholine instead of serotonin or dopamine. And acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, and it increases the amount of brain-derived nootropic factor that we create. So it allows for the formation of new neural pathways in the hypothalamus, which means that you learn faster and that you retain memory better.
And would you then rather take Huperzine A over, for example, alpha CPG or just choline in general?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. But they stack. So you could take Huperzine A with those, but Huperzine A is going to do the job by itself. I've also tried donepezil. It is too strong for me. I cannot handle it. I even tried taking
how many milligrams?
I think I was taking, if I recall correctly, I have 10 milligram pills, and I was taking half of a 10 milligram pill. So I was taking half of the lowest dosage, I believe. And it was still too much for me.
What did you notice?
I felt like no motivation to do anything. I felt like couch locked, and I kind of felt like I was a little bit brain blanked, and I felt like lethargic and not really sick, but not good.
Was it overstimulation or like a lack of stimulation?
No, overstimulation for sure. Yeah.
That's what I get a lot on a lot of supplements. They said I'm then too overstimulated, and then I just do something completely different than I'm supposed to do. And then I'm just in the doom scrolling for like 16 hours straight.
I thought I would adjust to it, but I just didn't. I recently doubled my Adderall dosage, and the first 3 days went exactly the way that I expected it to. Just sat in my chair, played on the internet for like 3 days straight. I couldn't do anything else, but then that went away, and then now I'm back to being fully functional. But the donepezil just did not relent. I did not adjust to it.
And what's your... Oh, sorry, Zeno, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I've also tried the donepezil because it's the best at what it does at acetylcholinesterase inhibition. And I experienced something completely opposite to Blast, but again, I got nauseous because choline and nicotine, they cause nausea via the exact same pathways, the exact same receptors. So this gave me nausea. I did have those. Then after getting used to have the dose, it was then 5 milligrams, upping the dose again. The nausea came back. I've spent a couple days just puking my guts out all day. So I still have it, but I probably will not try it again.
All for the sake of having a 5% better brain.
Yeah, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with Majen. I think modafinil or armodafinil is up there as one of the most potent, not for everyday use, but for
periodically
select occasions.
Yeah, because I really need to find some stack. I really need these, like the modafinil, where it just takes for specific use and then blast out some work. Because right now I'm not getting anything done. I'm just all over the place. It just sucks. But what would your guys' have you guys seen or know the film Limitless, where you have the Limitless drug?
Mhm.
What would then be, if you had to name one supplement, would be the Limitless drug?
Vyvanse, hands down. I'll tell you that. I think I got on Vyvanse, and I literally, so I used to play a lot of video games, and like I used to do like a lot of like little extra stuff that just gave me like dopamine pleasure that wasn't productive. I pretty much work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week now, and it's like enjoyable. Basically, I work, it feels good, and like the gym, and like I get high off of it pretty much from the
like
Vyvanse.
a normal person would.
Yeah, like a normal person would, I guess. But
Yeah,
it's, I don't know, it's yeah. That's how I feel. I think Vyvanse is the limitless drug. A lot of people say it's Adderall, but
They're basically the same drug.
yeah.
There's like, I believe Vyvanse is 3,1 dexamphetamine to levodexamphetamine. I think Adderall is just dexamphetamine.
No, Adderall is not just dexamphetamine. Adderall is a combination. I don't know the ratios, but they mainly put in levo in there just so that people wouldn't abuse it or abuse it less.
isn't Ritalin just dexamphetamine? Okay.
Ritalin is methylphenidate.
Exactly. Yeah, right. True.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the ADHD drug is the limitless drug, probably. For
Sorry,
people that
Vyvanse
have...
is
HGH.
Just Vyvanse is just lisdexamphetamine. It's the same as Alvanse, and Adderall is the 3-1 dexamphetamine, levodexamphetamine.
Yeah, I think for bodybuilders as well, like even though bodybuilding isn't really about peak mental performance, I think these nootropic stacks do really help. I just noticed that like even meal prepping and stuff like that, it takes up so much time, and just if you can allow yourself more structure and then get more out of the hours that you spend productive working, for example, that's really useful. And especially during a cut and stuff, most people aren't even capable to think anymore. I think it's a necessity to leverage some nootropic in a way to get yourself going, especially since bodybuilding is already in and of itself basically a full-time job, and then you also need to have brain power and energy left to do another full-time job to make a living. I think you need to be at the entrepreneur state of performance basically all the time. So I think even for bodybuilders, leveraging nootropics could be beneficial.
These statements brought to you by Big Stimulant.
Exactly.
When is our paycheck coming in?
Yeah, man, I wonder when will Pfizer sponsor us?
Do they have who has the patent for Cialis? Because they're the ones that are going to pay us.
I don't know, Bayern maybe.
We're going to contact them.
Yeah, and then you can take up the entire supply.
I've been draining China dry.
I've heard of many
That's such a hack drug. Unbelievably powerful. Sorry, go ahead, Majin.
Sorry, I've heard of many bodybuilders using Vyvanse or Adderall in the tail end of a prep, not only for the appetite suppression, but also because, I mean, you're going to be tired and lethargic all the time, so you get that boost.
Yeah, and especially if you don't have ADHD, you will just fidget like a motherfucker and move so much. So
yeah,
I think
you get that neat.
it will be beneficial.
Expenditure.
Yeah, it raises your metabolic rate quite a bit. Like personally, I think it's like the math was like 500 extra calories burned just from Vyvanse alone.
That's what.
It's a lot of calories, man. 500 calories burned per day on a pill. Plus you concentrate better. Plus you train better. Oh yeah.
Plus my appetite's nuked. It's great.
Yep.
Plus you make like $5,000 per month more, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made me more money. I think Vyvanse has definitely made me more money.
Now it's just becoming a shill for just
yeah. Oh my gosh.
This one pill will give you more money, better looks, and more women.
Max, are you mainly using a semaglutide or tirzepatide at the moment?
So right now, I switched over from semaglutide to tirzepatide very recently.
When it came to either, have you noticed having to increase the dosage for the sake of the appetite suppression?
Yes. Yeah, like I recently, just because my calories dropped quite a bit, I recently increased the dose, and I also increased the dosage frequency. So I used to do once every 6 days. Now I do once every 3.5 days.
Okay, yeah.
And did you already start the tirzepatide?
Yeah, tirzepatide's already started. I just took another dose today. So
I can't wait. I just ordered a kit. I'm really looking forward to it.
Sweet. Yeah, it's great. There's no nausea, which is nice. I got like really bad stomach pains off the semaglutide when I would do like the big. I noticed that like probably like 5 hours after, I would just have this like really bad stomach pain, and it would go away eventually. But it was like, yeah, that was one of the things about semaglutide that I didn't like. And tirzepatide, it's none of that. And all of the appetite suppression. And I think the appetite suppression is a bit stronger.
Have you tried combining semaglutide and tirzepatide yet?
No, but I could. I mean, I still have a ton of semaglutide. I have like 50 milliliters worth. I have a lot.
I was planning on microdosing semaglutide with the tirzepatide. It's actually a conversation that's been going on in our server for a really long time.
Stacking them. That's interesting.
Stacking them.
Should we just run a proper case study with it? We will probably be the first people that actually stack them.
Yeah, I've never heard of people stacking them before.
Agonism potential of each of the receptors for each of the drugs. And he was saying that tirzepatide is 120, which is interesting because another member a long time ago had shown me a research paper that showed that it was 16. And so I don't know who to believe because that person's also probably way more trustworthy. And then at the very end of his explanation, they showed recent research where they found basically the golden ratio for agonism of the three receptors between GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon, and it was 2-3-1. So if tirzepatide is 1/1/6, and the golden ratio for GLP to GIP is 2-3, and that means that if you're adding a small amount of semaglutide to your tirzepatide dosage, that's what's going to give you the best fat loss.
Shit,
It's something
I'll
to
try
take
it.
into consideration.
I mean, at this point, we really got to run a study.
We
So-
do.
We will be the first. We will be the pioneers of the GLP-1.
I think that'd be really good. I feel like a big pitfall among not just bodybuilders, but anyone using peptides, anyone enhanced in general, is that they don't track what they're doing like it is an experiment.
Some of us do.
Yeah,
But
I
most
need
of
to.
us
I need to
don't.
make like a spreadsheet or something because
I have
like with
a
dosage.
doc labeled the Gear Gremlin Diary, and it's like a timeline of everything, my biofeedback, my blood markers, and then like theories. I have like gear theory, possible, potential cycles or compounds, what they might do for me in a specific context.
Yeah, I think at some point down the line, we actually got to set up a proper case study of something because it just will be so fun to do, and it will
Yeah,
really
that would
set
be
us
super
apart.
cool.
Yeah.
10 of us all go on the same cycle and the same diet plan, and then, oh my goodness, dude,
No,
that would be so sick.
That'd be cool.
My idea was that a bit down the line, we just get like some villa somewhere. We rent it for like a month, and then we all eat. Then we can actually track, for example, how much actually everyone is eating, and we just standardize everything, and then just test out some stuff. I think that would be really cool. That we just have like 10 people, and then we can just do a case study with 5 placebos, 5 regular ones, and then we can actually test out things. I think that would be really cool. And then we can really trial, for example, how we talked about in the server today about the whole protein discussion. Then you can actually try out high protein diets where people stick to, because we will just force each other to eat 600 grams of protein each and every day.
Haus is doing it right now, eh?
Really? Okay.
He's doing it. He's starting with very low, relatively low carbohydrates, really high protein, and then he's going to see how much his weight is changing, and then it'll basically be able to say, is the protein contributing?
Yeah, I was also thinking about that. But the difficult thing then is, then you're just comparing results to yourself. So it will be hard to track, I think.
But it's 500 grams of protein he's doing.
Sure, but how are you comparing the results? For example, let's say I eat a moderate
his
amount
previous diets. It's such a stark contrast. He's reducing carbohydrates by so much and increasing protein by so much. If his weight does not go up the way that you should expect it to, then protein is not 4 calories per gram. And then if he adds carbohydrates and then he starts gaining weight in the same fashion that he did to his previous diets, that's pretty definitive evidence.
Okay, fair.
We'll find out.
Okay, I will also trial it maybe. So I do just the protein sparing modified fast again with double the amount of protein. 800,
no carbohydrates.
No carbohydrates, no fats. It's perfectly standardized because there's no other influence. It's just pure protein. Yeah. But what's interesting, when I did the protein sparing modified fast, I was eating roughly the same amount of calories as I was before. I think it must have been a difference of like 100 calories. And I dropped so much weight and my circumference stayed the same. So it must be something. I dropped, like I said last time, I dropped 5 kilograms in 2 weeks, and my size of the muscle stayed the same. So, I don't know. Shocking. Yes. We gotta give it a try. But yeah, then it would be interesting to basically compare like 5 people to each other because it would just be more data.
I'd love to do it. Make CBR convent a reality.
Yeah, man, let's do it. It would be sick. Today in the channel, Shandor, he dropped something from
Paul Carter, exactly, about that you don't need to be in a caloric deficit ever. Surplus, I think it was.
Yeah, surplus. My bad. Surplus.
Oh,
ever.
About.
And I've seen this. I don't know. It has been the last 3 or 4 days, I think, that all of a sudden everyone started to talk about this on social media. They all say you don't need to be in a surplus. Just eat at maintenance, and then you will gain the maximum amount of muscle possible.
Zeus, didn't you show me a research paper recently that showed the difference between diets that had roughly the same amount of protein, but one had 500 calories over TDEE, and the other one had TDEE energy intake per day, and the one that had TDEE energy intake did not grow muscle. The one that had
I don't know if it was me that showed it.
I've seen the study.
Probably not me.
Okay.
Could be. Can't remember.
But it's just such a stupid take. I don't even understand where people get it from.
It's been shown that a 100 or even more 250, 500 surplus, it's all about the same. And going to maintenance, like, is very clear. There is a big difference there.
He literally said this in the post. I do not think you ever need to be in a calorie surplus in order to maximize gains. I know that you've been told forever that you need to be because somehow it takes a lot of calories to grow when in fact it does not. In fact, it might be really minuscule. Yeah, then he just talks about that you don't use a lot of proteins that you ingest, that it's just a couple of grams a day. And the energy required for new proteins is very minuscule, and therefore you don't need to be in a surplus. To add, as you gain those grams and grams of new functional proteins, I would argue you would naturally have an increase in appetite and thus accommodate those needs for more energy, which again would be very small. So it's just at maintenance. So when you go from 170 to 172 to 175 to 180, your maintenance would increase to accommodate that weight gain. Yes. So it just says that you don't need to eat more.
That doesn't make sense. So he says, like, you like train and eat maintenance, and then you gain weight, and then you adjust maintenance. But how are you gonna gain the weight? I mean, it's not gonna magically appear.
Exactly.
So it makes zero sense.
Yeah, but a lot of science-based influencers have taken some random studies and have claimed this, but it can't work. Where does the new muscle come from?
Yeah.
It's
also the energy needed is not just the protein itself, because indeed there's not that much protein actually getting built, but it's like the building of the protein that takes energy, and also it's just the being in a surplus causes a whole chain of events that's gonna end up with growth. Not exactly because this energy is needed, but because of what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
Whereas having an insufficient amount of energy, which is more likely maintenance, because the amount of available energy substrates is limited. So if you go into you start training, for example, you exhaust the existing energy substrates, and then all of a sudden you're in all of the energy sensors of the cells detect that you're in a low energy state, and they activate AMPK, and that shuts off mTOR, and now you're not building any muscle anymore. So
yeah, but I believe he's also really not that big of a fan of the whole AMPK mTOR thing. I think he says it doesn't matter that much.
What the?
I believe.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Well, we could just immediately dismiss that person.
Yeah, just look into what he posts. I mean, he does post some good stuff, but I think he's a bit too narrow-minded, where he then disregards a lot of things, and he has changed his views a lot. So
you're talking about Carter, lift, run, bang, right?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, and yeah, so basically you need to bulk. If we wouldn't need to bulk, no one would be doing it, and I think bodybuilders would have figured it out a long time ago that maintenance would work. But they figured out somehow that you need more calories to grow, and they saw more growth when they ate more. And I mean, everyone has done a maintenance phase at some point, and if there would have been not more growth than during a bulk, they would have seen that, and then the entire populace would have concluded that you can just eat maintenance, but that's not the case. And like most bodybuilders do insane bulks at some point in their life, going extremely dirty, just packing on shit ton of weight, which then includes a shit ton of muscle. And I don't think that they're going from 160 pounds to 350 pounds by staying at maintenance. That's not possible.
We've been arguing a lot recently about like how to effectively bulk. I'm personally believe that like doing like 1,000 calorie surpluses can be super beneficial. And I know that you can't use like N=1 examples, but I did a very successful bulk recently in like a 1,500 calorie surplus and put on a lot of muscle. And the same argument, you can't use N=1 when you look at like Jay Cutler or Lee Priest, but like they're also just giga massive, and they also did like giga bulking, and there's the possibility that like that there is the possibility that if they had just done like a 250 calorie surplus, they would have gotten to the exact same size. But I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that you get that big on a 250 calorie surplus.
Also,
I
just
think you gotta.
the increased performance you will get from the extra energy, the level of input you can then deliver in the gym will be so much higher than at the maintenance level. Just that will already cause more growth.
Also, IGF-1 and insulin both activate mTOR. mTOR recruits additional amino acid transporters to the cell. The harder you turn on mTOR, the more amino acids the cell can uptake. So if you're gonna, and that's just one of my arguments for why you can build more muscle when you're using gear. Like if you're a natural and you want to do a 250 calorie surplus because you think, well, I don't know where the muscle fat gain skew starts to really fall off for me, but I know I'm going to get fat on 500 calorie surplus. So I'll make a little bit less muscle, but I'm not going to put on any fat. And I can't.
I always say the opposite.
What do you say?
I always say, if for like a really dirty bulk where you get fat, at least you know for sure you have the maximum amount of muscle possible. And then you really can't go wrong. Okay, you will have to do a harder cut, but you're probably able to maintain a shit ton of that muscle anyway. And at least you know you will make the maximum amount of possible. And I noticed this in my first year. I went from 63 to 40, from 63 to 84 kilograms in 1 year. I was eating 8,000 calories a day. I know that I made the maximum amount of muscle possible in that year. Since it was mainly lean, I was really young, so I was eating a lot. But I know it worked. And you say, yeah, NS1 with Jay Cutler and whatever, but that's what I see in all those guys. Marcus Rule, they all did this one insanely dirty bulk where they went from a regular muscular dude to a fucking heavy muscular dude, and they all did it. So it's not just N=1. I think a dirty bulk does have application, and it will just allow you to slap on the maximum amount of muscle possible. And especially if you're then enhanced, you will cut and retain all the muscles. So why not?
When you say dirty, do you mean like high calorie, or do you mean like actually?
I mean high calorie, not dirty food. With dirty, I mean mainly the amount of fat that you're going to gain.
Yeah.
So they bulk up very quick to very heavy levels where they also add more fat. So the P ratio is not that optimal, but they gain a shit ton of muscle. So
I don't know. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I love the infamous Jay Cutler bulking picture and then the Lee Priest guest posing. It's like you see this play out in real life. Like you see it, like they gained more than what you would say was necessary, but still it worked. And not everyone is going to be a Jay Cutler or Lee Priest, but
do you know the Marcus Rule bulking picture?
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, gotta look it up. When he's 19 years old, he has this cutout shirt until here, has such a round head. Just stands there in the gym at 19, Waterloo Buffalo basically, and looking massive as fuck. But it's not even with enhanced people. You see many good natural guys. At some point, they bulked up until they were just really fat, and then you look at them and then you think, oh, you're just a fat ass. And then they do this one really good cut all the way down, and they look spectacular, and they have so much muscle underneath. So just by observing, I think one can say that a bulk must work, and even a big bulk with like a lot of excess calories will do a lot of good for us. I think that's what we can see from just observing. Okay, let's hook this onto the Q&A questions real quick, because there are a lot of bulk questions, I think, where we can just fire along because it's rather easy questions. So what to do during a bulk when you're not hungry? What's the best options? Maybe for these rounds, we just pick 2 people and then they give their opinions and we just go through the questions. Zeno, what to do during a bulk if you're not hungry?
Make sure you're eating foods that digest really well. Like, for example, for me, it's bread. I can eat a lot of bread. Yeah, but it's maybe a bad question for me because I never had this issue of losing
Okay,
appetite.
did anyone ever have this issue? Okay, Magin and Max probably didn't really did proper bulks. Blessed, you ever bulked?
When I come out of a deficit, like a steep deficit, I've got a couple weeks where I struggle, for sure.
With hunger?
Where, like, getting the calories down, I don't believe in phases, like, except for health purposes. So if I come out of a cut, I go directly into a bulk. So if you're eating 2,000 calories a day, and then all of a sudden you want to switch to 5,000, that's a rough couple weeks at first. Drinking your calories helps.
Yeah,
I really like drinking your calories.
That's what I was going to say. Just drink it, shake it all up. At that point, if you can't get it down, some people say it's not that good to shake it because it doesn't digest well. Well, at that point, otherwise you're not getting them in. So just shake it up. Or do a diet and then you have more hunger. I think that's a good take as well. Then, what would be the maximum fat percentage where we want to bulk to, where it then doesn't become effective anymore? Maybe, Marjan, you can give your view on this.
I feel like it's kind of tough to answer after the conversation we just had about kind of allowing yourself to put on the fluff. But from everything I know, I don't really see a point in going above 12 to 15%. Probably more like 15%. Because at that point, I mean, I think so long as the surplus is there, I don't know. This is a tough one for me to answer. I know that the general rule of thumb is like still having a somewhat visible outline of your abs. That's also going to vary depending on, a lot of things.
It's hard to say.
It really just comes down to your A1C and your fasted blood glucose. If you are starting to become insulin resistant, then that's where I would probably cut it back.
Yeah, one interesting fact about this is that sumo wrestlers have the highest fat-free mass to fat mass from all athletes measured, even higher than bodybuilders, just because they slap on so much muscle mass. So that does mean that even if you get fat, you can still gain decent amount of muscle and still gain, like, the amount of fat just keeps getting more, but it's not like you're going to gain less muscle mass at that point. And
maybe I
especially
would say then, as far as you're willing to take it, in accordance to how far you're willing to cut afterwards.
Yes, I think it's a really personal thing where, for example, if you just look in the mirror at 18% and think I look so shitty and the body dysmorphia starts kicking in, then don't bulk further. But if you're fine taking it up to 25%, your health is in check, you're feeling fine, you're performing well, keep on going. But I think it's a regular rule of thumb, staying between the 15 to 20% body fat might be the best. And since measurements are not really accurate, if you can still see a little bit of abs, you're probably in most cases good. But once the abs start to go and gets replaced by 6 rolls of fat, that might be a little bit too much. Let's see. Next bulking question. Okay, no more bulking questions. Yeah, no problem.
Big chicken shakes. That's how you get your calories down.
You know it. If you miss a meal, because many people, especially during a bulk, want to get all the calories in. If you miss the meal, can you take that later in the evening, or is that not the smart thing to do? Maybe Zeno, during a bulk, I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think. But once you miss a meal, what do we do?
You just eat it at another time, because timing is lower on the priority list than calories and macro and micronutrients. So you have to make sure you have to eat what you have to eat that day. Then the timing is a bit off, but it's still better than not eating the meal.
For sure. It's pretty straightforward. If you're not getting any calories, you're not going to gain. So if you miss a meal, it's not that important when you eat the meal. Just get it in, do whatever it takes, and get it down in the evening. What do we do then on
even during a cut? Sorry, I wanted to add. Even during a cut, I would do it, because, man, I think first of all, I wouldn't miss a meal in a cut. But if I would miss a meal in a cut and not eat it, man, there's big odds of me going off diet soon after.
For sure. Yeah. And also, you don't really want to be missing out on protein during your cut. If you then miss, for example, 40 grams, that can already put you a little bit too low. So just from that point, it's probably better to continue eating. And then if we look, let's keep it on the bulking spectrum. On rest days, should we change our calories during a bulk, or should we leave them the same? Maybe Max, you can give your input on this. I know you have not done a bulk, but maybe you might know it. If we have a rest day, do we change our calories on a bulk, or do we keep them the same to gain more?
I say, I carb cycle. That's what I like to do. So I say, yeah, definitely lower your caloric intake. And obviously you wouldn't have your pre-workout meal, and you wouldn't have your post-workout meal. You wouldn't have your intra-workout. So those carbs would be taken away. And then obviously meal 3 to 5 would be the same. So yeah, definitely decrease your intake through your carbohydrates.
Yes. Okay, let's do one more quick question and then we will go into the sleep questions again. So we rounded off with sleep again. I get a couple of questions about recovering and gauging. Are you recovered? Am I recovered? How am I going to feel this? Someone asks, the next leg day is already today, but I still have muscle aches for my next leg day 3 days ago. Should I train? Should I not train? What should I change? Blessed. Maybe you can give your input on this.
I don't know. I would say train. It depends on how much pain you have. Depends on if it's if it's DOMS or did you injure yourself. If you injured yourself, don't train.
It's DOMS.
Yeah, train through it. It's better to get the workout in. First off, DOMS usually is like something that people experience when they're getting back into the gym or when they're just starting at the gym. If you haven't done legs in a while and you do a leg day, you might not be able to do stairs for a couple days. That's a real thing. But that goes away after a while. And like as your strength increases, you would think, well, I should be experiencing more DOMS, but you're not. You find that you don't have nearly as much pain.
So,
and I don't know how often people are training legs in order to be able to, train on a day after they have DOMS. If it seems unlikely to me. That's not been something people say to me very often. People that train frequently do not have DOMS in their legs 5 days later when your next leg day comes up.
It's probably because you're new to it, because it's probably a new stimulus in some way, and then you just need to get through it, otherwise the pain is not going away. But Margin, imagine if this, let's say we have done legs consistently and we still have muscle aches, delayed onset muscle soreness at our next session. Does it tell something about our training, about the recovery? What would you change? What would you look at if some client would come to you and say, hey, I have been doing legs now for half a year and I still have constantly these muscle aches each and every training. What should I do?
Well, just like Bas said, it is DOMS, right? Like it is specifically DOMS.
It is.
In most cases, I would just say train through it because, again, it is a new stimulus and you're likely just adjusting.
No, not a new stimulus. After a longer time.
Oh, okay. Then I would look at the training. I mean, are they experiencing any sort of issues outside of DOMS? If so, then I would look at training and consider things. If it's just DOMS and nothing else, I would say just train.
Okay. So personally, I would think that if you still have muscle aches after such a long time, the structure of the training is probably wrong, especially if there's 3 days between it. You should be recovered. It's not like you're training it the next day. So at that point, if DOMS continue after let's say 3 months and you're constantly hitting legs, so you're not lying to yourself that you are training legs when in reality you aren't, I think in that case there's probably something wrong with the volume. And if there's not something wrong with the volume, you're probably not sleeping well and eating well, which hinders your recovery. And in that case, if you notice stuff like that, that's really important then to keep a logbook, and then you can calculate back where it goes wrong. And I think you will quickly notice that either you're not eating enough, maybe not enough protein, or your sleep just sucks, or you're doing just way too much volume. Zeno?
Definitely the first step would be to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. If everything else is in place,
sure.
Then yeah.
Zeno, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with most things said here. There's just one thing I want to add. I would say if they have DOMS, but the performance is still there, I wouldn't even care. I would just say suck it up. But it's like if they have DOMS and the performance isn't there, and this happens like more often, then it's for sure something is off. But
That's
just
a really good one.
I've had sessions where I've had some DOMs and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a shit session. I warm up and then it ends up actually being a great session. Yeah, doesn't matter that I had DOMs.
Yeah, exactly. Then sometimes when you do then, for example, on a leg exercise, you still have a little bit of pain in your legs, and then you do like one warming up set, and it's just completely gone. So yeah, but it's a good addition indeed. If the performance drops off, that tells us a lot, and that's why I said log it. I forgot to mention the performance part, but that will then be, of course, the main indicator of something being wrong, recovery-wise. Yeah, we covered that one. That's a question I get a lot. So tells me probably that people are not training their legs very frequently since they're still having muscle aches. So guys, do train your legs. Don't chicken out. They have to grow as well. Let's go into the sleeping questions because those are left. Someone says online, I read a lot about the magical 8 hours of sleep a night. Though most of the times I don't get more than 7 hours. Do I leave a lot in the tank by not sleeping this 1 hour? Max, what do you think? Does this 1 hour really change something?
No, it's very person dependent. So I have to get 8 hours of sleep or else I'm screwed. Like for me, it is 8 to 9. For some people, it might be 6 to 7. It's all person dependent. I mean, Ronnie Coleman, he got 5 hours of sleep a night. Look how he turned out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Ronnie could have probably not slept and still looked like that.
What I'm saying is he only needed 5 hours of sleep. So for some people, it's very rare, but only need 3 and like feel rested on 3 hours of sleep. And I've met a person like that.
That doesn't exist,
crazy.
though.
Yeah, it does. It 100% does.
There is, I believe, 1% on the population can get away with 6 hours of sleep. That's with a very rare genetic mutation. And yes, someone can function, quote unquote, function on 3 hours of sleep and say they're fine. But if they would increase that sleep, they would notice a big change in everything in their life. There's really no person that thrives on 3 hours of sleep, even from a health perspective.
I'll show you the studies. I thoroughly disagree, and I'll show you.
Sure, I would like to see
It's a very real thing.
But what does the rest think? Is 3 hours of sleep for some people enough? Are there people that can get away with that?
I would say 3 is way too short. But I mean, if the quality of sleep is there and you're getting full sleep cycles, I feel like that is ultimately going to be the most important part. Like I think a good amount of people can thrive off of 5 to 6 hours of sleep, so long as that sleep is very good quality. And of course, as you get older and there's all these other factors that play into it, I mean, people naturally tend to sleep less over time.
Yeah. Well, it's just that why I always recommend the 8 hours. That's just a general recommendation, of course. Some people get away with less. But what we see is that the average sleep efficiency is only 80%. So let's say most people would need to sleep a proper 8 hours. Or let's say most people would have to sleep a proper 7 hours. If they only sleep 7 hours with an 80% efficiency, it's not 7 hours of sleep. So then you will probably still feel tired. And with most of these things, Martin, you also said, a lot of people can get away with like 5 or 6 hours. That's really, again, not a lot of people, since once you are actually sleep deprived, your life will just be regular. You won't really feel anything from that. So you will think you will be able to perform and you think you're cognitively well, but actually once you will then switch it up to an actual 8 hours, like 99% of those people that slept 6 hours will see a drastic change in their life.
I also want to go on the opposite end of this, that the quality of sleep is incredibly important, because when I had sleep apnea, I used to sleep 12 hours a day and feel like garbage, complete garbage. And now I get about 8 hours of sleep with a CPAP machine on, and I feel amazing. So a lot of it has to do with the quality of sleep. Are you getting into REM sleep, deep sleep? That's very important. So kind of reiterating on what Majid said, the quality of sleep is, I would arguably say, more important than the duration.
Definitely.
I think they're both important. Sleep requirements also change as you get older. Like teenagers and stuff, they need like 10 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep. Depends on how old they are. And then once you get into your 50s and 60s and stuff, it's rare that you need 7 hours of sleep. Most people don't sleep 7 hours. And it's not just the duration of time that these people sleep, which could be like lifestyle factors and stuff like that. It's also like what they require in order to be fully cognitive and do their spatial awareness tests and stuff like that in clinical settings. So your age is a factor.
Yeah, and what's also important to remember is that it's a U-shaped curve. So there is somewhere a middle point that's actually good. And then if you sleep way too less, it will have an impact on your health. And if you then go up the curve again, on the other side, if you sleep too much, it will also be bad. Like Max, you actually needed 12 hours before because the efficiency was so low. But let's say for me, when I need 8 and I'm going to try to sleep for 10 or 12, that will also have a lot of negative effects for my health again, just like sleeping too little has. So it's a U-shaped curve, and we just need to find our own thing. So just a person asks, should I sleep 8 since that's the magical number? Well, that's the magical number since it's the general rule for most people. But a lot of people function on 7 hours. Other people need 9 hours, and someone else can get away with 6. Don't try to take these, like rules that are this general for yourself. Try to figure out what works. And if you feel fine on 7, function perfectly, everything is in order. And if you sleep 8 hours and don't notice any difference, 7 should be fine. I have trouble with falling asleep. I've tried literally everything and nothing is helping me. Any tips? Maybe if then everyone could give their one sleep tip to, not the sleep tips from last time, but something to specifically fall asleep. And then we can round off the episode with that to have the perfect ending, because we all need to sleep. Let's see, Marjan, you start off. What would be your tip to fall asleep if you can't?
If they have tried everything and nothing is working, well, then they're fucked, and that's just life for them. They've probably not tried everything. Typically, the first thing I look at is sleep hygiene. Like, what are you doing before bed? The hours leading up to bed. What is that sleep environment like? And then second to that, I would look at, are they getting sufficient magnesium? Are they, like, is their natural melatonin production good enough? A lot of the times, it's just going to be a sleep hygiene thing. But if they've really exhausted most of these options that are not super invasive, I guess, or, deep, then at that point you could look at something like a low-dose Seroquel or Trazodone. But those come with trade-offs.
Yeah, sleep medication is really the last thing I would do. So if one indeed went to the doctor, tried literally everything for sleep, then you will end up there probably. So let's see if there are more tips. Blessed, what would you then do if you can't fall asleep?
I look at supplements first off. I think if you use the right combination of supplements, you can essentially drug yourself asleep.
And which supplements would it be?
I really like theanine and ashwagandha personally. I find that they both make me feel groggy. And if I feel groggy, I'm not going to enjoy doing whatever it is that I'm doing to stay awake, which is playing on my phone, playing on my computer, talking to friends. And I'm going to go to bed. And once I'm in bed, it's going to be easier for me to fall asleep. So
yeah, that's an important one as well, because I could imagine that someone asking this like this through social media is probably on social media at night. And often if people say I've tried literally everything for sleep, they probably didn't. So indeed, if you try to make yourself sleepy and groggy and then just go to bed, most people would actually fall asleep. Max, what would be your take?
So, as someone who legit tried everything for sleep and that didn't work, 50 milligrams of Trazodone, that works. It works very well. Otherwise, like in regards to falling asleep, 500 milligrams of magnesium and 10 milligrams of melatonin. There you go.
That's a lot of melatonin.
It's the maximum, right? I think that is. Because I have 10 milligram melatonin pills that are just over the counter, so.
Yeah, that doesn't exist here in
Really?
Europe. No, it's not allowed to
Yeah, you can get
go that high.
melatonin over the counter here.
Oh, yeah,
you can get it here for sure.
No, I didn't mean you can't get it, but I mean you can't get a 10 milligram pill.
Yeah, you can.
You
You
can?
can get 50s here too.
I thought they are not allowed to give out above 3 milligrams anymore.
I think maybe not in some countries, but I've ordered from within Europe 10 milligram. There were gummy bears or something.
Start with 3. Start with 3, then titrate up. Don't start with 10.
I personally start with 0.1.
My
That's what I take if I take melatonin, and then I just pass out.
That's a thing? 0.1 milligrams?
Yeah, here they come in
Yeah.
0.1, like in 100 micrograms doses.
They start
Yeah,
at
and-
3
and-
here. What the heck?
Oh, here is 0.1, and the recommended dosage is to have 3 of them.
Yeah,
I think
300
0.3.
micrograms. Yeah,
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, wow.
Since Blast
But it
mentioned
does
it,
work.
I'm a really big fan of ashwagandha pre-bed instead of during the day. I feel like a lot of
yeah.
people.
I take it post-workout in the evening and then pre-bed
and
as well.
That's another great time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference when it comes to the type of ashwagandha?
No,
Like
because I
or-
believe I saw some studies that it doesn't really matter, and the price compared to the like just regular one, it's so much more for, I believe, not much of a benefit. And I also saw a different study that actually showed that what's the one? Is it like KSM-66 or something?
Yeah.
That was unhealthier or something like that. That left some that did kidney damage or something like that. But I can't remember properly what it was. But there was something. But my conclusion when I looked into it was that it really doesn't matter which one you take. The other one is just more expensive. Zeno, did you already give your input?
No, I don't know if it's something completely new. I think you touched on it last time, but I would get an analog alarm clock and don't take your phone into your bedroom. That's a big one. We did this for like a year or two, and then my girlfriend had to be available at night, so she started to take her phone with her into her room. But because we have been doing it for like 2 years, we got so used to it that we now can take our phone into the bedroom and like not even look at it. So now we went back to it, but I know in the beginning it was not possible for us to take the phone into the bedroom and then be like, yeah, we're not going to look at it in bed.
Yeah, I think that for 90% of the people nowadays will probably solve their sleeping problems. Yeah, it's just such a big disruptor. Me personally, what would I do if you can't fall asleep? If you have tried everything? I think, yeah, like I said before, most people probably didn't really try everything. They tried a lot of stuff except trying to sleep. That's what I think is. It sounds weird, but like most people probably didn't actually try to just at 9 p.m. just drop everything, go to bed and lay there, and then just wait until they fall asleep. Because yeah, even if it then will take you 2 hours, you still went to bed at like 11. So that's still good. That would probably be the best. I've tried everything and can't sleep. Just go super early, leave everything else, like just skip the gym, whatever. Go lay in bed at 8 p.m. and close your eyes and just wait. And I think you'll fall asleep at some point if you've done everything already. But yeah, it's a stupid tip, but it might work. Another good episode. And again, we ended on sleep since that's something we all have to get now. Margin, how late is it at yours?
It is 2:12 p.m.
Okay. So it's a bit later than Max. Yeah.
No,
well,
I'm 3:12. So.
oh, you're 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the US people can enjoy their day, and bless Zeno and I, we will hit the sheets and then have a good night of rest. That was it again for the episode of today. It was a bit more unstructured than the last one. We will try to get in some more structure, and then we will go off of different topics the next time, at least if you as viewers like this most. So please let us know in the comments or in the DMs if this structure is preferred or a more structured layout where we just discuss one topic. And yeah, we basically covered everything again today, from cutting, from bulking, from sleeping, whatever. So a very diverse episode again. Margin, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
I
having
hope
me.
we can get you on another time as well when we do have a bit more of structure with a more clear topic, because I know you have a lot of knowledge and I would love to see that here on the podcast, and then we
I would
can
love that.
prepare something. So you're welcome again in the future. And of course, thank you everyone for watching. Again, all the other speakers, thank you for coming on. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below maybe. That will properly give us a boost. We will see you guys next time at House of Knowledge.